The couch smelled of stale coffee and regret, its frayed upholstery digging into my back as I lay there, staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin. It was 2:17 a.m., and the living room was a graveyard of silence, broken only by the distant hum of the refrigerator. Upstairs, my wife Clara slept in our bed, though it hadn't felt like ours in months. Her ultimatum still burned in my ears. If you can't trust me, Michael, sleep down here. Trust. The word felt like a blade, sharp and slippery, cutting deeper the more I turned it over in my mind. I didn't know then that trust was a house of cards, and hers was already collapsing. The argument had erupted after dinner, sparked by a text that lit up her phone as we cleared the plates. She'd snatched it away too quickly, her laugh too bright, her excuse, a work group chat, too thin. I'd seen the name flash across the screen. Elliot. Not a colleague. Not a friend I'd met. Just a name that had been creeping into our life like damp rot. Mentioned in passing, dismissed with a wave, but always there, lingering. When I asked who he was, her eyes had darted to the side, and her voice had sharpened. You're paranoid, she'd said, slamming a dish into the sink. Sleep on the couch if you're going to act like this. So here I was, banished, my heart a tangle of doubt and dread, wondering when my wife had become a stranger. Morning brought no clarity. The kitchen smelled of burnt toast, and Clara was already dressed, her heels clicking on the hardwood as she poured coffee into a travel mug. I'm late, she said, not meeting my eyes. Her perfume, jasmine, sharp and sweet, hung in the air like a ghost. I wanted to grab her wrist, to demand answers, but the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I muttered, "We need to talk tonight." She nodded, barely, and was gone. The door's slam echoed in my chest, a hollow sound that matched the ache spreading there. I worked from home that day, my laptop open to spreadsheets I couldn't focus on. My mind kept replaying the past few months. Clara's late nights at the office, her phone always face down, her sudden need for space. Small things, easily explained, until they weren't. I found myself scrolling through our shared cloud photos, something I hadn't done in years. There she was, smiling at a company retreat, her arm around a man I didn't recognize. Tall, broad-shouldered, his hand resting too comfortably on her waist. The caption read, "Team bonding." But the look in her eyes, bright, unguarded, felt like a punch to my gut. I zoomed in, searching for clues, hating myself for it. Was this Elliot? Was I losing my mind? By evening, the house felt like a pressure cooker. Clara came home at 9, her face flushed, her hair slightly mussed. "Long day," she said, kicking off her shoes. I stood in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, my pulse thudding in my temples. "Who's Elliot?" I asked, my voice low but steady. Her shoulders stiffened, and for a split second, her eyes betrayed her, wide caught, before narrowing into defiance. "I told you he's from work. Why are you doing this?" Her tone was sharp, but there was a tremor beneath it, a crack in her armor. I stepped closer, my voice dropping to a whisper. "Because you're lying to me." The fight that followed was a storm of accusations and denials. She called me controlling. I called her distant. She swore Elliot was just a friend, but her words felt rehearsed, her gestures too practiced. When I mentioned the photo, her face paled and she stammered, "It's not what you think." But she couldn't explain what it was. The air between us crackled with unspoken truths, and I felt the ground shifting beneath me, the foundation of our marriage crumbling. "I need air," I said, grabbing my keys, leaving her standing in the kitchen, her hands trembling. I drove aimlessly, the city lights blurring through the windshield. My mind churned with memories. Clara's laugh on our wedding day, the way she'd curl into me during thunderstorms, the promises we'd made. Had they all been lies? Or was I the fool, seeing betrayal where there was none? I pulled into a gas station, the fluorescent lights harsh against the night, and checked my phone. A notification from our shared bank account. A hotel charge, 2 weeks ago, in a city she'd never mentioned visiting. My stomach twisted. I called her. No answer. I texted, "We're done unless you tell me the truth." No reply. Back home, the house was dark, but Clara was awake, sitting on the couch, her face streaked with tears. "I didn't want this," she whispered as I walked in. My heart wanted to soften, but my anger was a live wire. Didn't want what? I asked, my voice cold. She looked up, her eyes raw, and said, I made a mistake. The words hung there, heavy, undeniable. She told me about Elliot, her coworker, her confidant, her mistake. A late-night drink after a project, a moment of weakness, a line crossed. It was once, she said, her voice breaking. I love you, Michael. I swear it. But love felt like a foreign language now, when I no longer spoke. I thought of the hotel charge, the late nights, the lies piling up like unpaid bills. Once, I said, my voice rising. Then why hide it? Why lie? She had no answer, only sobs, and each one felt like a nail in the coffin of our marriage. I wanted to scream, to forgive, to rewind time. But the truth was a wound too deep. I can't do this, I said, my voice barely audible. I pulled out the divorce papers I'd printed weeks ago, when the doubts first became unbearable, and slid them across the table. Sign. Clara stared at the papers, her hands shaking. Please, she whispered, we can fix this. But her plea was a hollow echo, drowned out by the betrayal that now defined us. I didn't trust her tears, didn't trust her promises. Sign. I repeated, my voice hard, though my heart was breaking. She looked at me, searching for the man who'd once loved her unconditionally. But that man was gone, buried under months of suspicion and pain. With a trembling hand, she signed, her signature a jagged scar on the page. She left that night, her suitcase wheels scraping the driveway as she walked away. The house was silent again, but it wasn't the silence of peace. It was the silence of something shattered. I sat on the couch, the divorce papers in my hand, and felt no victory, only loss. Then my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You deserve better. I'm sorry. Attached was a photo, Clara and Elliot, laughing in a hotel bar, time-stamped 2 nights ago. Not once. Not a mistake. A choice. I stared at the photo, my chest tight with rage and grief. The fan above me spun, indifferent, as I realized the truth wasn't just a betrayal, it was a theft. She'd stolen my trust, my love, my future. And yet, as I sat there, alone in the wreckage of our life, I couldn't help but wonder. Had I failed her too? Had I missed the signs, not of her infidelity, but of her unhappiness? The question hung in the air, unanswered, as the night stretched on, cold and unrelenting.